Welcome, this is Carrie Schell from On Point Quilter. As I was working on my paper snowflake quilt, I was realizing that the borders were a little boring. There was just a little bit too much white using the same fabric. And so I decided to string piece each of the sections, and I will be sharing with you how I recreated the blocks in Electric Quilt, and with my changes they are very foundation friendly as well. Okay, I've opened Electric Quilt. I'm going to open an existing project and open my paper snowflake project and select OK. Under the Blocks tab, I'm going to navigate to the two border blocks that were designed during the last session. We will get started by selecting the shorter border and selecting Edit. Now, with the Easy Draw block, I want to make sure my snapping options are set to snap to lines and arcs only, so all the rest should be turned off. Before I draw my foundation sections, I want to zoom in on the lower edge of the block. The reason for this is that there is a little bit of an issue with the current release of Electric Quilt that causes sometimes the lines of a block to be outside of where they should be or inside of where they should be. So where you see that dotted line is actually the edge of my block. And so that's going to create some problems in foundations, but EQ is in the process of fixing that, and I think they'll have it fixed in their next release. But I'm going to change the block height to a square, because what I have noticed is when you do that, notice that dotted line disappeared, which means it's okay. And then I'm going to bring it back to the 2-inch. So it's like it sort of fixed itself when I brought it square and brought it back. So once I've done that, I'm now ready to work on my foundation. So for the foundation, I like to work from the outside in, and I want to create a single foundation for each of the white spaces in this block. So let's start from this center block, and I'm going to draw a few strings at the bottom, and then for the next set of strings I want to work off the last drawn line segment and go to one of the other edges of the triangle. Now once I have that done, for the third section I'm going to work from the last line that was drawn, and I'm going to go a different direction. So now I'm going to use that same concept for these half triangle blocks. So let's start from the triangle edge, and I think I'll probably just do 2 sections here. I'll take that last line drawn and draw some strings from that. Now for this one, I could start by drawing some strings this way, and I'm always going to start from this line. Now I can go either here or here. It really is whatever choice I want in terms of piecing it. So let's just go down to the bottom of the block. Okay, once I have that done, I can go to Print and Export, and I'm going to select Foundation. Now EQ has created 3 foundations, one for each of the white sections, and for this one it's added on the left and the right. If I go to numbering, you can see that I started here at piece 13, my last line drawn was this one here, so it always pieces in reverse from how we draft it. You can see that it also works exactly the same for the left and the right half triangles. So once I have that done, I am now going to go to the color section. Now in the color section, I'm going to start by just taking that first red and with the spray can color all of the whites red. The reason for that is I'm working with a lot of whites with very little variation, and I want to make sure that I get everything colored. And so then I'm going to use my paintbrush and use a variety of whites and blues and color this block. And once I have it completely colored, I can add it to the project sketchbook. Now let's select the larger one, and we're going to do an edit. I'm going to also bring this to 14 inches to make it square, bring it back to 2, and I will now draft the string sections for each of the white pieces in this particular border, just like I did in the small border. When drafting the block, make sure that the start and the stop points of the line end up connecting to another line. If not, it is often better to use the undo and then redraft the line rather than trying to edit a line, particularly if it is already connecting to another line. In that situation, it's quite possible we can cause lines to bend, which will impact the foundation. And so I'm going to do another print and export foundation, and we can see where EQ is doing the sectioning, and I'm actually okay with that. I just wanted to make sure each of my centers is in a separate section. And so now I'm going to close this. I'm going to go to color, and I'm going to recolor this as well. And once I've got that done, I can add this to the project sketchbook. Now I'm going to view my project sketchbook and go to my last quilt and select Edit. And now with my block tools and my set block, I'm going to find the last 2 blocks and I'm going to replace. Before this, I have one little trick. Under Work Table Options and under Tool Options Setting Blocks, I can say maintain the block rotation when replacing blocks. And so I'm going to check this because now when I click on this particular block and put it into these borders, I don't have to do any rotations. And you can see what it looks like with the quilt patch lines, and here's it with without that. And so now I can go ahead and add this to the project sketchbook. For additional tips and techniques, please subscribe to my weekly newsletter at www.onpointquilter.com.